although they later on can actually watch the Zoom recording, it's still, they've actually missed an opportunity to ask questions, and I think that the normal trend is probably going to remain enthusiastic, lots of attendance at the start of a term, sort of drops to about 50 to less than 50% of attendance throughout the rest of the term, and then towards the handing date, submission date of assignments, as well as exams, midterm exams and tests, it sort of picks up again, because then people are anxious again and they want to make sure that they are well prepared, which is good. I mean, I'm fine with that, but I think at the end of the day, it just students sometimes put the rest of the group in a difficult situation, because now we expected to sort of attend to issues and repeat problems that have been identified and addressed by students who've attended all the sessions. But again, this is it. I prepare as if I've got a full class every single time. It doesn't matter. And the ones who benefit are the ones that, like you, who's currently signed in. And I think, yeah, it's out of a group of, we should be about 15 students. It's me and you at the moment, Dana. And that to me, yeah, it's sad because they're missing out on opportunities. But important information, for instance, I'm going to share today is the following. So I'm going to get to that immediately, and then as soon as it's going to take 2 or 3 minutes, and after that, let's address some questions you might have, or even during the session. I'm going to share the screen with with an important document. That's the first one I want to show you, and that would be our August schedule, starting on Monday. Believe it or not, today is the second last day of July. Yeah. Yeah, July is 31 days, doesn't it? Yeah, it's got 31 days.
Yes.
Yeah, so Monday, we in August already. I've completed the schedule and it's uploaded onto Moodle as well. The session on, you'll see that if you look at the July one, which we don't have both of us with us on screen at the moment, but the July one, what we've done this week is, as I've gone through the work, I saw that prospecting and that we did, which was basically chapter 6, and I think it was on the original schedule, indicated that the next one, chapter 7, topic 7, which is preparing your sales, or preparing for the sales call, the next step in the cycle, that I realized once I've gone through the work that it's not going to require the 2 sessions that was scheduled initially. So there's been a few changes. So on the website, you will, on my website, sorry, on Moodle, the study guide, which basically is where we design these monthly planners from. The updated one with the changes in possible dates has been done. So that's on Moodle. The one that you have there is the current one. And then this schedule I've already put up on Moodle, because not everybody, I think, has realized yet that today's the end of the month, or tomorrow's the end of the month. And yeah, I know that you guys want to plan ahead. So the reason why I have drafted, or why I've shared the screen with you, Dana, is not just to say what's going to happen next week, but also to give you an idea of, if you remember correctly from the first schedule, and also if we share a possible another screen with you. Let me see, it's not that one, it's that one, is the one on your assignment. Originally, it would have said the 4th of August. Now, we've discussed it in previous sessions, because there are certain chapters that I did not realize would only be completed after the original date of handing. So what I've done is, on this original assignment, I've changed the date to the 18th, which is basically 2 weeks from its original date. And if I can go back to that screen, go back to the schedule for, oh no, not the one, the schedule for August. Go back to the schedule for August, you'll see that your assignment is now handed in on the 18th, and where you would have done the brief on assignment 2, also next week. I think it just to continue, just for continuation in the whole cycle or sales cycle that basically is linked to each chapter. You'll see that the steps in the cycle, in a selling cycle, is what we are busy with at the moment, individually. We listed them in chapter 1, and now we're looking at each of them individually. We've done prospecting already this week. The next step is to prepare for your sales call. The next step is then obviously the approach and the sales presentation, which is Monday's session. Then we go into handling objections, and handling objections and closing the sale. Those were aspects that, especially the handling objectives, that's one question. If I go back to your paper, one of your assignment questions dealt with, illustrates the step in the planning of a sales call, explain in detail each step in the planning of a sales call. Now, we couldn't have done that until we have, if we haven't completed that particular chapter. So we've advanced the date on the handling for the assignment. And the one that you will follow, obviously, is that one on the screen, which is on Moodle already. Okay, so I've changed it. And as a matter of fact, we're busy with the moderation of assignment 2. And I've decided also that from the original plan, your assignment 2 brief, would have happened on that same day that you've handed in assignment 1. But because you're submitting it onto Moodle and we do not have a live Zoom session like was intended at the start of the term, I've moved the assignment brief to a Thursday session where we have our live Zoom sessions. Okay, if does that make sense to you? And you clear on that, Dana?
Yes, I answer.
Okay. I think also there's been, from the original dates on the study guide, the class tests. I've moved those dates as well. But the one that you see on the screen and the one that's on Moodle is the one that we're going to follow, and I've made those changes to the study guide too. So there was a time right at the end of August that you almost wrote 2 class tests, the one on the Thursday and the one on the next Tuesday. For the purpose of a study guide, I've made changes, but they are all still on specific dates. But you also realize that the fact that all these class tests are done online now, it could actually be done on any day. It could actually be on a Wednesday. But we try to at least stick to the dates, Tuesdays and Thursdays, which you usually would have had the classes if we were actually live on campus. Okay, and then finally, I've not received any confirmation from our academic office. Towards the end of term 2, we had Zoom sessions when we did the remedial sessions. Remember, just before the exams.
Yes.
A whole week of remedial sessions. Now, in effect, they were revision sessions in preparation for the exam. I've already put this on the schedule because your exams would start, I think, from about the 7th of September. I haven't seen the exam timetable yet, but for that reason, this being the last week prior to the exams, I've scheduled for revision. And you have to remember, obviously, and I will do an announcement on Moodle for everybody to update them and tell them, inform them that this schedule for August is on Moodle, that they must have a look at it and study it, because when you get to that last week, the Zoom sessions is not going to just be on the Thursday. The Zoom sessions will be on the days that you would have had them initially. At this stage, crossing our fingers that ESCOM does not hijack our plans. So in other words, on a Tuesday for that week, you will have 2 revision sessions, because we have 2 periods on a Tuesday, and you will have 1 revision session on the Thursday before before your exams start the following week. Okay, that's quite clear, and it makes sense to you, and it's a plan you can work with, Dana?
Yes, yes, it
Okay.
is. But sir, what happens if we do get load shedding during our exams? Like on the days of
load shedding during exams has always, load shedding during exams can be a challenge. I think we've been challenged with that before. In June, you will see that with any test that is written, apart from the fact that it's available throughout the day, we've made 2 kinds of we've put 2 plans in place in case there is a load shedding issue during the exam. One would be, there are instructions like we did with the mid-year exams in June. We gave you exam instructions. Now, the exam instructions clearly state that there is a number that you can contact, that you should contact. In other words, don't phone your lecturer, don't phone one of your classmates, whatever. There's a dedicated number, an 086 number that you can call or should call, should you be busy with your online exam and all of a sudden there's load shedding. You have to immediately notify by phoning that number to campus, or sending an email to that email address that we've given you as well in the instructions. So that's why we want you to read the instructions, and I'll do it in the final preparations of during that revision week. Immediately phone them or immediately email them and say, I've got a problem, I'm busy with my exam, boom, I've got no power. The reason for that is they'll make a note of it, because you will be allowed another opportunity to write that exam on that same day later on when you do have power. That's also why we have opted to allow you to write the test online or the exam online for the entire day, from midnight to midnight, because we won't have load shedding throughout the day, but you will be in the load shedding zone and somebody else will not be. So obviously it is the responsibility of the student to also be aware of possible load shedding interruptions, and not schedule to sit down for a 2-hour test, online test, if he or she knows that there might be an interruption. In other words, if a student phones in and said, listen, sorry, there's been an interruption, I can't do my exam, whatever, because the student is now taking a chance because they actually are battling with the exam, we will know. We will know that that particular student is taking a chance, because we know what the Telkom schedule is for load shedding. So obviously, those measures have been put in place to try and be as fair as possible to everybody, and therefore it is the test or the exams will be available again the entire day online, because we have different challenges based on data internet accessibility, as well as obviously possible load shedding interruptions. So no, it shouldn't be a problem, but even if it becomes a problem, then, because we are immediately notified. As soon as you phone the office and said, listen, there's been an interruption during my exam, I immediately get a WhatsApp or a call from the office to say, so-and-so, Dana wrote a test, she was busy, there was interruption, And because they is the only ones who can authorize that. That's why there's only that one dedicated number. And she would immediately make an answer, right, Dana, the exam setting indicated that you only have one attempt to write the exam. We can override that, and we, I mean the academic office. So they will then override it. So when I do my marking online on Moodle of the test or the exam, I would see that Dana, there's two attempts by Dana. The one actually after 15 minutes stopped. Then I know that's the one I'm not going to mark because there was an interruption. And alternatively, I know because I've been informed by the office. So yes, we've put measures in place to ensure that even in a case like that, the student gets a fair opportunity. And then obviously what we do consider is the fact that something like that is going to be unsettling. So immediately it's taken into consideration when we mark the paper and then look at what the results are. And obviously, yes, it would be there would be circumstances that obviously we have to take into consideration the mindset of the student at that point, because I know if I'm prepared from the exam, and I'm anxious with any exam anyway, regardless, if it's online or if it's human nature. I mean, the exam setup where you're going to be assessed, even if you've done online and you have books available and other resources available, it's still an exam, and there's still some form of anxiety. And once that sort of carpet is pulled underneath you and there's interruptions, it unsettles you. So all of these things, obviously, we take into consideration, but we cannot, obviously, we need to be fair to everybody. And it's not the case where a student is, oh, you know what, I'm going to try my best and then hope that they look kindly towards me. No, you still have to do your work, and I think it's again such an amazing preparation for real life out there, which is not going to run smoothly all the time. Imagine we're busy with a module called sales and specifically personal selling. Imagine you are preparing, or you have prepared, a presentation that you're going to do to a company, to a group of directors at a company, because you are trying to sell a particular product or service to them. You're busy with your presentation, you're 10 minutes into your PowerPoint presentation, boom, all of a sudden your laptop just dies on you, or the audio doesn't link up. The fact that you've gone through all of these things in your training while you were studying at college, it actually prepares you how to handle a situation like that. So that's why it's called learning. That's why it's called higher learning, because the intention of what we do at a college or university is to take you from a structured, routinized way of learning like you've done at school, and gradually ease you into what's actually really happening in the business world out there. And sometimes, Dana, the best way of learning, and I've always said to my students, you know what, sometimes you need to actually bump your head to learn the lesson. If I told you beforehand, don't do this, you're going to bump your head. You're going to say, ah, yeah, whatever. If I don't warn you in advance and you do bump your head, you will not do it again. It's like the reverse is also true. If you look at a young toddler, the mother says to the child, do not touch that plate because the stove is hot and it's going to burn you. Now, the youngster doesn't know because it's never been burnt. And now he almost sees it as an invitation. Okay, right, let's see if she's right or not. Yeah. And then they touch it and they burn, they're not going to do it again. So sometimes a warning is necessary, but sometimes no warning is required, because we know that the lesson is best learned if we haven't prepared you for what's ahead, and in the process, allowing you an opportunity to figure it out and resolve it, rather than just reverting to the instructions on how to handle a specific situation. So yeah, that's one of the bigger challenges that we're faced with, because not all individuals, I think, learn in the same way. We've addressed this in some of the other modules. We all learn, but we don't learn at the same pace, and we don't learn in the same manner. Yeah. Any questions at this stage, Dana? Do you want me to? I can quickly, not quickly. We have enough time. I can quickly summarize chapter 6, prospecting, and chapter 7 that deals with preparing for your sales call. Or I can just do the presentation for you and highlight the importance, because the videos have been uploaded onto Moodle anyway already. It's already pre-recorded. This even the work that we are doing today is already on Moodle and pre-recorded. So you see, what would you like me to do, or do you have any questions at this stage?
Two things. One that is not that relevant, but I'm quite curious about it.
Yes.
So in the beginning of the year, the students were asked, I think it was in your class in marketing, who wants to articulate?
Yes.
And then majority of the students actually put up their hands.
I know, almost everybody, yes.
Yeah, how does that work now? Like, how's it going to work?
The same still applies. Remember that when there's a migration with Stadio, and from January there's no prestige, there's only a Stadio multi-university, and you are all Stadio students next year in your third years. It means that no course that was started before the migration is going to be interrupted. In other words, if you sign up for a 3-year diploma course and you are in your second year, we can't just abandon that course now and say, hey, sorry, I mean, we're migrating, so we're under the obligation to complete a course. And I've seen it previously at other colleges that I worked at as well, where these kind of changes happened. You will always have, and it's not just when there's a migration with another university or a sort of a new entity like a Stadio Multi-University would be. It's also when there's changes in the curriculums of courses. In other words, when you started in your first year, subject A, B, and C was part of the curriculum. A in year 1, B in year 2, and C in year 3. And then now it's changed because we have to stay as current as possible with the information, and we're required now to change the curriculum of the course, and that is usually based on the annual CHE audits that you receive. When they come to your campus, they look at your programs and they make recommendations, and also we receive recommendations for possible changes that need to happen in certain programs. So for instance, one year we have personal selling in year 1. Last year it was probably in year 2. So these things change, and obviously the courses are modified accordingly. The students will always be allowed to advance to a higher qualification. And like we've asked this, as I've asked the group earlier, I think in that week, Mr. Mullins also came to speak to you guys about the exponential learning. Nothing has changed in that regard. The same requirements to qualify for articulation is still in place. There's only certain programs might not be offered in future again, and therefore when the marketing for 2021 is done currently by all the different colleges, they won't sell that course because there won't be a first year intake. But being in a course that already is presented, be it in your second year or your third year, and even the first year students who are current first years in 2020, their course, if it was a 2 or 3 year course, will continue to be offered because they've signed up for a 3-year course, and then they're not going to get half a qualification or a lesser qualification because the program is a 3-year, 360 credit qualification. And as a result of that, it has to be completed. It will, however, bring certain challenges, or usually bring certain challenges when these things happen, because sometimes you will have students who start in a new program, but they start, they're not going to repeat the entire first year. They articulate straight into a second year of a qualification. So all these things are still in place. Whatever was in place in that regard before COVID-19 is still in place. You will still need to get a certain percentage to be able to articulate, but it's definitely going to still be an option for the students who choose to. Regardless, I think the numbers will probably come down a bit from what it was initially because of the uncertainty of where we are in general as a planet, so to speak. Because these are not common problems to Prestige or to Bellville or to Cape Town or the Western Cape. It's a global issue. I mean, all universities and colleges are battling with the same challenges. But in a roundabout way, if you can summarize my answer to you, it will still be available to you, and you can still qualify to articulate if that's your choice.
Oh, I see. And
Does
if
that make sense, Dana?
Yes, it does. And if you do make the cut, do you start straight away and then you still graduate in June, or what?
I cannot answer that for you, unfortunately. As I said, we at the moment, what we have attempted to do from the start, when we realized that it's going to be a challenging year, I'm referring to sort of mid-second term when we went into lockdown, nationally, basically. We realized that there are a few challenges. What Prestige management have done, and that is to this, they've decided to continue with the year delivering happening in a different manner online like we are doing now, but still stick to the original year plan. In other words, there's no course that is not going to be finished by November. It might take a week longer maybe, but it will still be finished in a particular calendar year. Where I know that some of the schools or some of the options that schools or Department of Education is considering is to continue with classes throughout December and January, and only finish your 2020 year in January 2021. Now, we won't be faced with an issue like that, because the decision that Prestige took was that we want this year to be finished in this year, and therefore they've gone through a lot of cost to ensure that it is in place to happen that way. So in other words, when you finish your year in 2020 in November or in December, you would have completed this year. So there's not a situation where you carry a subject from one year to the other, which makes your following year a bit more challenging because you are still carrying first year subjects because we haven't completed a particular year. It's not going to be the case here. No, not with Prestige Academy, no.
Oh, okay. I see.
But I know I've spoken to some of my friends whose children are at different universities and colleges, and it's a decision that is taken by the management of each of those institutions. The fact that Prestige Academy is a private college gives us a bit more flexibility in the sense of making decisions like this. The number of people that we have to consult, the number of stakeholders that we have to consult is not as complex as with a public university like UJ, UWC, or one of them, because there obviously there's it's not just the university. University of Stellenbosch have some form, have their own identity and some form of independency, but also they're under the big umbrella of public universities, and we cannot have, and therefore decisions like that is made or made decisions that are made are different to the ones that's made by private colleges. Where it's basically the owners of the business that make that decision, and they make those decisions in to make those decisions to which is most favorable for this case the students of a particular college. But it's a bit different with other institutions, and it is different from one institution to the other, and therefore it's very difficult when sometimes you I've realized that now that when there's conversation, people start creating their own stories if they are not properly informed. And to prevent that from happening, Prestige was very clear on the decisions they took from the start, that the main importance for us is the health of our staff, the health and safety of our staff and our students. Those are the two most important commodities for us as a college to survive and grow through these challenging times that we're in. And I can unequivocally say that the decisions that management has taken, I don't think at the moment it's clear to a lot of people that it was to a certain extent very visionary in biting the bullet now and suffering and benefiting from it in future, where others said, okay, right, we're just going to sit back a bit and wait and see what happens, and then we'll react. In Prestige's case, they've been very proactive. They made decisions. Some people might not understand why they made the decisions, and that's usually the case with decisions that's taken. It doesn't always make sense to you at that point, but later on you realize, oh, that was actually a good decision that they've taken. And unfortunately, the challenge is that different management at different universities and different colleges have different approaches. And now your parents and my parents and the parents of all the students, and all the students talk to their friends, and other parents talk with, and now I say, but no, at my college where my son is studying, this happens, and my college does. So, and then all of a sudden people are even more unsure. Prestige is always, from the start, have been open and to the point with you as students as well as your parents, to say, this is what's happening, we've made this decision this morning, this is the reason why we took it, boom, that's it. And all the communication, I checked again this morning on Moodle, those things are being communicated with students. Either students inquire, about something. I wasn't 100% sure, but I think I was about 95% sure. Once we finished our conversation, I checked on Moodle, I saw, no, that announcement was made on the 14th of July. It was very clear what the situation is. The challenge sometimes is that people don't read those announcements. They don't read the information. And you know what? We're all in this together. So